Leland is a senior fellow and director of the Center of Peace and Liberty, and he joins us now from Washington, D.C. to analyze all this with me. Ivan, thanks so much for coming in on the show. Now, what do you make of these latest statements coming from the Pentagon when it comes to Turkey's purchase of F-35s? Obviously, Turkey has to choose one or the other.
Well, it's, I think, part of what we call in the United States a good cop, bad cop routine. One official is more hardline and the other official is less hardline, and one's trying to encourage Turkey to do the right thing, or in their view. And then, of course, the other official is trying to pressure Turkey to get rid of the Russian anti-aircraft system so they can get back in the F-35 program.
And how is the U.S. going to replace Turkey's place in the supply chain as Turkey makes over 900 of the parts for the F-35s?
Well, I don't think actually that will be necessarily a hard thing to do. There are plenty of subcontractors in the United States that would like to take over some of that production, and they have the technical capability to do it, I think, in most cases. So when they dole out production to various states and various countries, the Pentagon, it does it usually for political reasons. So I think they could probably produce either the parts in other countries or in the United States itself.
And these actions from the U.S. could push Turkey closer to Russia, and Ankara might buy defense mechanism from them. So how will this affect the relationship between the U.S. and Turkey moving forward?
Yes, well, I think that this could push Turkey towards Russia, but of course, Turkey has had a centuries-long rivalry with Russia, and Turkey is in the NATO alliance because of Russia, primarily to go against Russia. So I think even though Turkey and Russia are getting along better since 2015 shoot down of the Russian aircraft by Turkey, it's still, Turkey probably will look in the long term and say that it probably still needs to be in the alliance, and therefore it would consider dropping the the Russian anti-aircraft system. The original reason it didn't buy the Patriot was because it didn't get as much domestic production as it would have liked. But the question is, will Turkey want to stay in the alliance and play by the alliance rules? As the Secretary of Defense mentioned, they were trying to get rid of a lot of the Soviet equipment, and now that's become an issue. Now, Turkey is a very valuable member of NATO, there's no doubt about it, so there's interests on the other side for the United States to negotiate with Turkey. And so hopefully the two sides can come together and solve this problem.
And removing Turkey from the F-35 program will take time, at least a year, some experts say. In this time, could we expect from Donald Trump once again to kind of mediate? And because he was already saying earlier that Turkey was treated unfairly in all this, and maybe even change this position by the U.S.?
Well, in the United States now, we have on many issues, we have what the president says and then what the bureaucracy says. And of course, the bureaucracy wants a harder line on Turkey than the president does. So it could very well be that Trump will mediate this. And I think he gets along with President Erdogan of Turkey very well. And so we see this dual policy, all the time. And we'll see if that happens in this case, if Trump will, mediate and some agreement can be reached. But there's certainly a lot of brinksmanship going on now. Erdogan visits the air show, in the Russian air show, and of course the rhetoric that we just heard from the Defense Department on either side is pretty strident right now. But hopefully maybe they can get some sort of an agreement on it.
Okay, Ivan Leland, the Senior Fellow and Director of the Center of Peace and Liberty. Thanks so much for joining us on the program. Now, Yemen's internationally recognized government says it has retaken parts of the southern port city of Aden. Forces loyal to President Mansour Hadi took control of the city following fierce street clashes. Aden fell to UAE-backed separatists earlier this month. They accused the government of nepotism and mismanagement. The two sides are supposed to be allies in the Saudi-backed campaign against the Houthi rebels. Riyadh has asked them to set aside their differences and keep the focus on the Houthis. Nabil Noweira is a research associate at the Gulf International Forum. He says Riyadh will be extremely concerned by the latest fighting.
STC was able in the last few weeks to control Aden, Abiyan, and also try to